But I'll also be asking the questions on 5 Live at 5 p.m.
Co-powered by Solar है लगाना तो Luminous को बुलाना. In association with the new Volkswagen Virtus.
Day after Prime Minister Modi unveiled the emblem, politics and blame game explodes. Trinamool cries insult to national emblem. Opposition calls Modi's version ferocious. Big war over the roaring lion emblem.
The largest Ashoka pillar ever built in the country is now the latest canvas for fiery politics that has exploded. It has united the opposition, with the BJP now fighting back to defend this new sculpture. I'm going to tell you some realities, I'm going to ask some big questions, and I'm going to expose some hypocrisies as always here on 5 Live. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Shiv, Aroor. These are the headlines. Explosive face-off over Smriti Irani getting charge of Minority Affairs Minister. Trinamool says a hardcore Hindu made in charge of Muslims and Christians. BJP calls it pseudo, fake, shameful, false secularism. RSS Neta's big attack claims conspiracy to turn Muslim prayer day of Friday into stone pelting day or Patharwar. Slams open beheading calls by Islamist fanatics as un-Islamic.
शुक्रवार आया, मुसलमानों की इबादत का दिन है, पर कुछ षड्यंत्रकारियों ने नौजवानों को उकसाकर पहले से तैयार करवाकर अकस्मात हिंसा नहीं भड़की और उस शुक्रवार को पत्थरवार में बदल दिया.
Over 100 Jharkhand schools changed their weekly off for students to Friday instead of Sunday. BJP guns for Chief Minister Hemant Soren. Government calls it Muslim appeasement. Inquiry has been ordered. Right-wing groups call for Band over Bengaluru's Idgah Maidan, demanding celebration of Hindu festivals, seek Maidan to be designated as a playground. Rain fury continues to sweep India. Deadly deluge kills 61 in Gujarat. 3-day holiday declared in Telangana. Red alert sounded in Maharashtra. We have a special report coming up at 6 p.m. Union Minister Smriti Irani, who is in Kolkata at this time, has broken her silence over the entire emblem fight. The emblem fight has just gotten bigger. She says the ones who destroyed the Constitution are now speaking about it. The ones who cannot respect Ma Kali won't be able to respect the national emblem, says a feisty, fiery Smriti Irani, who is in West Bengal at this time. A day after the emblem has sparked widespread politics against the government, Smriti Irani has now jumped in to defend the entire emblem issue. Before we show you what Smriti Irani has said, the Congress party is the latest from the opposition to jump into the big war over the new emblem that was unveiled yesterday. Jairam Ramesh, the media in charge of the Congress party, has just put out a statement to say to completely change the character and nature of the lions on the Ashoka pillar at Sarnath is nothing but a brazen insult to India's national symbol. Karti Chidambaram, Lok Sabha MP from the Congress party, with me on the phone line. Karti, the Congress, the latest to on record oppose this emblem that's been unveiled yesterday by the Prime Minister.
The national emblems have to follow a certain protocol when they are reproduced, particularly on government installations and in government publications. Has this emblem been Have they followed the protocol? And is it a true replica of what the national emblem is supposed to be? Is the question. If it is, so be it. But if it is not, why was there any deviation? And secondly, on a
Okay, we've lost that audio link, unfortunately, with Karti Chidambaram. We'll try and re-establish that audio link with him on the phone line. But he's taken a slightly softer tone to what the Congress's Jairam Ramesh has said. Jairam Ramesh has basically just said that this is a demolition of India's national emblem. But Karti Chidambaram says if there is no change, then so be it. So there appears to be different voices coming in from the Congress party. But here is what Smriti Irani, Union Minister, has just said at a press conference.
जिन लोगों ने संविधान को अपने पैरों तले कुचला, जिन लोगों ने संवैधानिक परंपराओं का मजाक उड़ाया, आज वो उस एम्बलम से डरते हैं जो भारत का प्रतीक है, जो भारत का गौरव है। जो लोग मां काली का अपमान करते हैं, वो राष्ट्रीय एम्बलम का भी अपमान करें, ये आपके लिए हैरानी की बात नहीं होनी चाहिए।
Okay, Karti Chidambaram of the Congress is back with us on the phone line. Karti, apologies, we lost you there for a moment. Go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, as I said, if national emblems have to be reproduced, they have to follow the protocol which is prescribed. Has this reproduction followed the protocol? Because when you print it or when you install it, you got to follow protocols. Same with the flag or any of the symbols. And this is a national symbol. And and I'm sure there is a written protocol somewhere in the Ministry of Home. And the government simply has to say that they have followed it. If they have followed it, if they have not followed it, then how can an emblem which has not followed the protocol be installed on top of the parliament? And secondly, for this event, why weren't all party leaders invited? It's the House of the People. They should have invited all floor leaders of the various political parties which are present in the Lok Sabha. Why should only, or in the Rajya Sabha as well, why should it be an exclusive affair of the Prime Minister and the Lok Sabha Speaker and only the government?
Karti, the government says that this pillar is a representation of the original from the Sarnath Ashok pillar. That there is no difference. There are perceptions being made because, most people are used to seeing it in 2 dimensions. This is in 3 dimensions. There's a bottom angle of it which shows the features as more pronounced. Do you buy that?
If I have to reproduce the flag or any symbol, there is a certain protocol, correct? I'm sure the protocol is written somewhere in some manual in the Home Ministry. It is there. I'm sure there is something there. I don't know. I've not read it. I'm not claiming to be an expert. Why can't they just say, yes, the protocol says this should be the dimensions, this should be the expressions, this should be the color, this should be the tone. Let them just put it out and answer that. I mean, why go about all this saying that it's a perception difference? Then maybe we'll get our eyes checked. Maybe they can all sponsor a free eye checkup for all of us if all of our perceptions are wrong. But just put out the protocol and say how you followed the protocol. That's all.
Because the government says that this is a non-issue being made into an issue by the opposition. Even within the opposition, Karti, there appears to be different voices. Your party has just put out a statement via Jairam Ramesh to say that this is an insult to the emblem. You are asking a question, but your party has basically gone ahead and said it is already an insult.
I endorse the position taken by our communications head, Mr. Jairam Ramesh. He speaks for the party, and I definitely endorse what he's saying. But the point is, why can't the government simply say this is the protocol and we have followed the protocol? Why can't they simply say that? Why go into this saying that it's a perception, you're viewing it from a different angle? Put the protocol out. They simply say this is what the Act says and we have been true to the protocol and we have reproduced it. End of story. I mean,
final question. Is this more about the opposition parties being left out of this ceremony rather than the pillar itself, Karti? That is one of the questions we're going to be raising as well.
Of course, you see, this is not an inclusive government. This is an exclusive government. That's very clear. When you're especially having an event in Parliament, when it is about a Parliament building, shouldn't all parties which are represented in Parliament be called? I mean, wouldn't that be the basic decency to do it? Wouldn't that be the basic courtesy and the protocol to follow? Why should it be an exclusive event of the ruling dispensation and the government? Simple as that. And the Speaker is a custodian of the House. He should have invited all floor leaders.
Karthi Sriram, Lok Sabha MP of the Congress Party. Thanks very much, Karthi. Appreciate your views on this developing story here on India Today. Will the government come out and put out a statement that protocol has been followed in this? We don't know yet, but the temperatures on this story have already risen to that very familiar point where substance is subsumed by point scoring between both sides. Now let me show you. Remember, the BJP has come out to say, via Amit Malviya, who heads the IT cell, that the pillar that was unveiled by the Prime Minister yesterday is a faithful reproduction of the original Ashok pillar, which is in Sarnath, close to Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh. Now, this is the original and this is the new pillar that was unveiled yesterday. Just as far as perceptions are concerned, let's tell you what those who are criticizing this entire reproduction of the emblem are basically saying. They're saying, look, for instance, at the eyes of the original and then look at the eyes of the new pillar. The new pillar, they say, have angrier eyes. Here the eyes are looking gentle and calm, but here the lion is much angrier. The second thing that they point to, the critics, is the mouth. They say the mouth here may be open, but it isn't in the kind of snarl that is, that has been sculpted in this new emblem. I'm just pointing out what the critics are saying. You can agree or disagree, it's a matter of perception. The third thing is the chest of the entire, of the pillar. There is a perception being put out by many that this is a, the big chhati, the big sort of macho chest of this new lion figure that's been put out by them. So these three things are the main things. They also say that in profile it is much more, the new lion figure is much more pronounced. It has a kind of intimidating, menacing kind of silhouette and profile, which is not there in the earlier one. But a closer look at both shows that may actually not be the case, because most of the images that were put out of the new pillar were taken from a bottom angle, making many of those features look much more pronounced. But if you're wondering whether all of this is a storm in a teacup, well, many would agree with you, because they're wondering whether this is really about the opposition feeling slighted, legitimately so, about not being invited to the unveiling ceremony of this beautiful pillar. 24 hours after the Prime Minister unveiled this national emblem for the new parliament, a huge political war has erupted. India Today told you about it first. Take a look at how it has totally exploded 24 hours later.
The gleaming bronze burnished national emblem cast, unveiled by Prime Minister Modi, finding pride of place on India's showcase new parliament building. But a day on, the four lions continue to draw sharp opposition barbs. The TMC saw Modi's lions as ferocious beasts, snarling and unnecessarily aggressive. Party MP Jawahar Sirkar calling the emblem cast an absolute assault on the original Ashokan pillar, which he said was graceful and regal. The statue in the new parliament looks like it has more pronounced teeth, expanded chest, and shown in a roaring expression when compared to the 2,500-year-old Ashokan pillar originally at Sarnath. Opposition parties, including the AIMIM and the Congress too, joined the chorus slamming the government.
संविधान के जानकार क्या कहते हैं, वो भारत के प्रियम्बल का हिस्सा है. लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी, फ्रेटर्निटी, जस्टिस, आप उसको भी भूल रहे हैं. थियरी ऑफ सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स इंपॉर्टेंट है देश के लोकतंत्र के लिए. अगर एग्जीक्यूटिव लेजिस्लेचर पर हावी हो जाएगा तो गलत होगा हमारे लोकतंत्र के लिए.
The BJP, however, defended the emblem as true reflection of India's glory, accusing the opposition of sparking a needless debate.
तो शेर से बहुत डरते हैं ये लोग, क्योंकि एक तो मोदी जी से डरते हैं और मोदी जी की शक्ल में शेर से डरते हैं, तो हम क्या करें?
Has the Modi government tinkered with the national emblem, or the opposition is trivializing the issue in a desperate bid to target the government? Bureau Report, India Today.
So in terms of perception, this is what the differences between the original pillar and the new pillar are. And again, I'm saying these are perceptions because the makers of it say there are no changes whatsoever. Because of the greater detailing, it looks much more pronounced. Now, the original from 1860, the teeth are not as pronounced as the new pillar that was unveiled yesterday. Especially the top canines are much more pronounced in the new pillar that was put out yesterday. The chest isn't as expanded, some say. The chest is much more expanded in the new pillar that was unveiled yesterday. No angry expression in the old pillar. It's a calm sort of expression. In the new pillar, it's a roaring, fearsome expression, a roaring expression that defines the new one. Now let me show you what each person has said. Remember, most of the opposition parties have kind of united around their anger over this emblem being tweaked and changed, they allege. But what are people actually saying about it? They're saying that it's an insult to the national symbol and the majestic Ashokan lions. This is what Jawahar Sarkar of the Trinamool Congress has said. He says its original is graceful and regally confident, but this one is most certainly not. Then you've got the RJD of Lalu Prasad saying the gentleness on the face of the old four lions, newly unveiled emblem shows ferocious view. That's what their take is on this. Like largely what I've basically covered. Those who change the national emblem should be called anti-national, says Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party. So all the parties have rallied around this issue, basically saying the same thing. Meddling with the national emblem was unnecessary and avoidable. Why should lions look ferocious and full of angst, says Irfan Habib, well-known popular historian. Unveiled emblem, an adaptation from the Sarnath lion, the capital of Ashoka. Opposition is comparing 2D and 3D images in print to imposing 3D structure, says Amit Malviya of the BJP. So the government hasn't spoken, but the BJP has put out that take, saying you're mistaking a 2D image for a 3D image, and then that's where all the errors actually come through. But India Today spoke to the sculptor himself, the man who actually sat down and was part of making this entire beautiful statue. Listen to this particular individual, Sunil Deore, who told Rahul Kanwal that there have been no distortions or amplifications in this work of art.
Sunil Deore joins us. He's the sculptor, and it's a very important voice to hear from the sculptor because Sunil Deore has now set off a national storm between the opposition and the government. Sunil, they're saying that you widened the mouth, your lions are more ferocious. This is like the angry Hanuman versus the more benign Hanuman. Some people are seeing toxic masculinity in your lions, that you've basically messed with, tweaked and changed our constitutional symbols. How do you respond to these charges?
In Hindi?
हाँ, आपको जिस भाषा में बोलना है, हिंदी अंग्रेजी सब बराबर है हमारे लिए.
हाँ. नहीं, मैंने जो किया है वो एज पर रिप्लिका किया है. उसका जो एंगल, जो फोटोग्राफ का एंगल आया है, उसमें ये एंगल आपको दिख रहा है.
दिखाओ पूरा स्क्रीन दिखाओ. जस्ट कट टू हिम, शो अस व्हाट ही इज सेइंग. पास दिखाइए कैमरे के. हाँ, सही से दिखाइए.
ये एंगल आपको दिखाई दे रहा है.
करेक्ट.
ये एंगल, और ये भी तो छोटा मॉडल है, लेकिन जो फोटोग्राफ वायरल हो रहा है वो इस एंगल से हो रहा है.
हाँ.
तो एंगल का भी बहुत डिफरेंस है. हमने पूरा ऑथेंटिक मॉडल से स्टडी करके उसका पूरा हिस्ट्री जान के उसके पर काम किया है. तो
नहीं,
ये
आपके हिसाब से कितना फर्क है? थोड़ा लाइन को अपने पास लाइए ना, अच्छे से दिखाइए.
नथिंग.
कोई फर्क नहीं है. वो तो लग रहा है कि उसका मुंह ज्यादा खुला हुआ है आपके लायंस का.
ये देखिए, मुंह खुला होने का, वो जो ओरिजिनल रिप्लिका है वो है 3-3.5 फीट की.
हाँ.
जो अशोक कालीन बनी हुई है, उसका आप प्रोपोर्शन चेक कीजिए और मेरे लॉयन का चेक कीजिए. एग्जैक्टली हमने उसको एनलार्ज किया है.
नहीं, ये जो बात हो रही कि पहले हनुमान जी थोड़े से बिनाइन से थे, अब वो थोड़े से
हनुमान जी कौन से? हनुमान जी कौन से?
वो जो गाड़ी के पीछे पोस्टर लगता है उसकी बात कर रहे हैं. वो एंग्री हनुमान का आपने देखा होगा ना. वो कह रहे हैं कि
मैं नहीं जानता हूँ. ये मैं नहीं जानता.
अच्छा, वो कंट्रोवर्सी के बारे में ही आपको नहीं मालूम है?
नहीं, ये नहीं जानता हूँ.
आपकी ब्रीफ क्या थी? क्योंकि आप स्कल्प्टर हैं, आपकी ब्रीफ क्या थी सुनील भाई?
मेरी ब्रीफ ये थी कि जो स्कल्पचर है उसका ही रिप्लिका मुझे करना है।
तो आपको किसी ने नहीं बोला कि
architect-
पहले लायन थोड़ा सा खामोश था, उसको थोड़ा सा खतरनाक बनाइए क्योंकि
लॉयन
छाती का साइज बढ़ाइए, ये सब आपको किसी ने नहीं कहा?
नहीं, ये किसी ने नहीं कहा, कुछ नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ। एज एन आर्टिस्ट, आर्किटेक्चरल टीम, ये सब मिला के, सब डिस्कशन होके, उस पर स्टडी होके ये हमने काम किया है।
कितना मुश्किल था आपने जो तमाम स्कल्पचर्स किए, और इसमें क्या स्टडी किया आपने, कैसे आपने इसको किया, कितना टाइम लगा, कितना मुश्किल था ये करना आपके लिए?
इसको 9 महीने का टाइम लगा है हमें, और इसमें मुश्किल ये थी कि वो चैलेंज ये था कि क्रेन का कैपेसिटी, टावर क्रेन का कैपेसिटी 1.5 टन था, और ये पूरा स्कल्पचर है 9.5 टन का। तो इसको हम पार्टली वहां ले जाके वहां हमने उसको ब्रीजिंग करके फिनिशिंग किया है।
क्या इतना बड़ा अशोक स्तंभ कहीं और पे है या सबसे बड़ा अशोक स्तंभ है ये?
मेरे ख्याल से ये सबसे मैं इतना नहीं जानता हूँ, लेकिन ये जो आर्किटेक्चर ने साइज डिसाइड किया, वो साइज में हमने इसको बनाया है।
ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आपको किसने दिया सुनील भाई?
ये टाटा प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेड की तरफ से।
तो डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से या बीजेपी की तरफ से नहीं आया आपके पास?
नहीं, ये टाटा प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेड ने मेरा मॉडल अप्रूवल किया, जो सामने दिख रहा है आपको।
कितने का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था, अगर मैं आपसे पूछ सकता हूँ कितने पैसे लगे?
ये मैं आपको नहीं बोल सकता,
बता दो।
नहीं, ऐसी बात नहीं बोल सकते, ये हमारे बीच में होता है ना।
नहीं ठीक है, मेरा तो काम है ट्राई करना, पूछना मेरी जिम्मेदारी है।
नहीं, अच्छी बात है, आप टाटा प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेड से आप पूछ सकते हो।
तो आप बेसिकली ये बोल रहे हैं कि जो सारनाथ का एक्चुअल लायन है, आपको भी हूबहू वही लायन बनानी, आपको किसी ने नहीं बोला कि छाती बड़ी कर दो, मुंह खोल दो, खतरनाक बना दो, ये सब किसी ने नहीं कहा?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं कहा है। एस्थेटिक सेंसली मुझे वो बहुत अच्छा मॉडल लगता है, और उसी का हमने रिप्लिकेट किया है।
Well, I'm very glad I could get you on the show, Sunil Deore. That's a very important perspective to have. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and appreciate you joining us.
So you've heard from the sculptor himself about the brief that was given to him by the government. He says there are no big changes. This is a manifestation of the original Sarnath pillar. But there are questions, ladies and gentlemen. You know, while we call out the hypocrisy of those who are fulminating over what's going on, we also have to ask, why is the opposition so triggered over this evolved emblem? You know, is this new India symbolism, in the perceptions of some, making some people uncomfortable? They're saying all sorts of things, you know, like toxic masculinity and Hindutva and stuff. Does this emblem symbolize a changed India's, you know, brave new aspirations? That's what the defense would be. Are these pronounced features of the Ashoka lions, you know, a representation of India's much more assertive persona in the new world order? Question number 5. Are Modi's lions, because that's what people are calling it, Modi's lions, in an effort to make it his lions and his work, showcasing a sharp, incisive and resurgent India? Are all questions to really think about. But remember, there are legalities involved. And like Karthi Chidambaram was asking earlier, what about the protocol? Can the centre change the national emblem? Now remember, the government has not spoken about this, but there is a sense that they say that there is no change. This is a manifestation of the original. But here are the rules as they are right now. The centre has the powers under the State Emblem of India, Prohibition of Improper Use Act of 2005, to change parts of it. It can regulate the use of the national emblem, including specifications of design, as the government considers necessary or expedient at any point of time. I want to go across to India Today's in-house legal expert, Nalini Sharma, to throw a bit of light on this. Nalini, as usual, lots of politics, not many facts, which is why it's always good to get someone like you on board, to sort of part away, throw away all the, the fiery face-offs and crossfire going on between all parties right now, and get down to the basics right now. And the act and the pointers that you've sent us say that the centre does have the, provisions to actually do something like this. What is your understanding of this particular pillar and where things stand legally?
Well, Shiv, keeping all of the politics aside, let's get into the legalities of this controversy that has now broken out. There are basically two statutes or two laws, if you want to use an easier word, that deal with how a national emblem can be used, what are the powers that the central government has, on what buildings it can be displayed, etc., etc. These are, one is of course the 2005 Act, the State Emblem of India Act that you just mentioned, and there is another 2007 rules, the State Emblem of India rules, that clarify the provisions regarding the use of the national emblem. Now, according to these statutes, it is very clear that the national emblem itself, which are the 4 lions, cannot be changed by the central government. However, if you look at Section 6F of the 2005 Act, Section 6F clearly talks about how the central government has the powers to actually change the design of the national emblem to a certain extent. So even though the basic design and the basic idea of the national emblem is to remain the same, the central government does in fact have the powers to change the design of the emblem. Now in Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 of the 2005 Act, there are designs that are provided as part of this schedule on the basis of which this emblem needs to be made. And that, like, if I can just read out Section 6F to you, it says that the central government has the power to do all such things, including specification of design of the national emblem. This does not mean that they have the power to change the emblem itself, but they do have the power to tweak the design. The reason why this act came into being, Shiv, and it's clearly stated out even in the object and statement of purpose of this act, is that before this act came in, the emblem was regulated only through executive orders or executive decisions, which had no legal standing, which is why there was a need felt to bring in a law to regulate this entire aspect. And by virtue of the law, the central government in this case seems to have done nothing wrong. They seem to have just tweaked the design according to what they felt was right or what they felt that should have been done. So there is no illegality, there is no lack of process as is being claimed by several opposition parties in the matter. It's become a political controversy, but as far as the legal issues stand, the central government is very much empowered to take the changes that they have done so.
It doesn't get clearer than that. There's so much of all of this, Nalini, that's so subjective. So, and we are, of course, a vibrant democracy. So one can totally understand, the many misgivings and comments that are being made about this. But a legal perspective on where things are at really clears the decks so our viewers can understand that. So, Nalini, thank you very much for that. And finally, not that anybody is ever really asking, but here's my personal opinion. I love the Ashoka pillar unveiled yesterday, frankly. I love the fact that the lions appear to be a little more ferocious than the emblem we've all grown up with. There are many who don't see much of a change from the original Sarnath lions, putting it down to, 3 dimensions, making the details more pronounced, making the lions look more fierce. No matter which way you look at it, either way, to me, it's very much in keeping with a country that faces a dangerous new world and has so much to protect. To me, the emblem hasn't lost any of its brave elegance. The lions are still regal, towering, magnificent. For those whining about the lions looking angry and fierce, well, I hate to break it to you, but lions tend to be fierce. It's part of the job. Political objections to the unveiling ceremony are fully understandable and totally legitimate. But those fulminating endlessly about the angry lions should know that nobody is impressed by this cynical insinuation that these new lions in that statue represent toxic masculinity or a shift towards Hindutva. No matter which way you look at this emblem, these aren't Hindu lions. The only thing these lions stand for is every single Indian. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Jain, Buddhist, even atheists like me. And don't let anybody convince you otherwise. We're taking a very quick break here on 5 Live. On the other side, we have a huge news break by India Today that has set the evening news agenda. Sensational claim by a Pakistani columnist. Nusrat Mirza claims he was once a spy for the ISI, and when he came to India, he was hosted by Vice President Hamid Ansari. What is the truth? Is this a bogus claim or is there something to it? We find out next.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
Fashion industry is all about new designs, styles and creations. Well, now fashion designers have a new playground for their creations, the Metaverse. This digital world where, thanks to an avatar that gives us a virtual twin, we can evolve and act just as we would in the real world. We enter it through wearing a virtual reality headgear or by watching a computer or smartphone screen. The Metaverse is a space for experimentation and testing out new products, allowing designers to push the boundaries of their creativity. This has economic advantages too. By testing out their collection in the Metaverse, they can then analyze public reaction in it and adapt demand accordingly to avoid surplus production and unsold items in the real world. In other words, an eco-friendly approach. For other designers, their creations will stay digital. On specialized platform, brands commercialize their virtual clothes by attaching to them an NFT or a non-interchangeable unit of data stored on a blockchain that can be sold and traded using cryptocurrency. This kind of marketing saves brands from their worst nightmare: fakes flooding the marketplace. With the second-hand market booming, reselling a pair of virtual shoes associated with an NFT will give the designer royalties on each transaction. Some brands link a virtual fashion item with its counterpart in reality.
You are watching India Today.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now.
The UK-Rwanda asylum policy was introduced under the Economic Development Partnership in April this year. The UK-Rwanda asylum policy will be introduced as a pilot project for a period of 5 years. The European Court of Human Rights will hear the legalities involved in the policy next month. What is the need for UK-Rwanda asylum policy? The policy has been introduced as a measure to prevent the loss of life that happened because of dangerous crossings. In 2021, over 28,000 refugees entered the United Kingdom. In 2020, 8,500 people entered the territory in boats. These people took help from human smugglers and illegal traffickers. In fact, one of the prime reasons why Brexit happened is the influx of refugees in the European countries. In 2015, more than 1 million migrants and refugees trespassed the European territory. The United Kingdom is ready to make a payment of £120 million to Rwanda. This would cover the cost of housing and integration of the asylum seekers till their applications are processed. Countries like Australia, Israel and Denmark have also established such policies. However, they were criticized and opposed for being cruel.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You are watching India Today.
Sensational story that India Today broke earlier today has set the news agenda with everyone following it. Listen very carefully, viewer. This is a huge claim by a Pakistani columnist named Nusrat Mirza, the guy you see on your screen right there. He can be seen boasting on camera now that he used to pass on information collected during his visits to Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI, after visiting India. He had come to India to attend a seminar on terrorism at the invitation of then Vice President of India under the UPA government, Hamid Ansari. Nusrat Mirza notes that his last visit to India was in 2011 when he met the Milli Gazette newspaper's publisher in India, Zafarul Islam Khan. He adds that he received a lot of information during this visit, which he faithfully then passed on to the ISI. But it is not his meeting with Zafarul Islam Khan that is the big alarm bell that's ringing. It is the fact that he says he was hosted multiple times by then Vice President of India, and we'll put those images on your screen, Hamid Ansari. What were these meetings about? Was there a spy angle? Is this just a bogus claim by a man looking for some attention? Is there a smear campaign against Hamid Ansari, or is there more than meets the eye? Are the big questions being asked, because this is an extremely serious charge being leveled by a man who says he is a person who collected information during visits to India and then passed them on to the ISI on return to Pakistan. I want to bring in India Today's National Bureau Chief Abhishek Bhalla, Managing Editor Gaurav Sawant. In a moment, we will also be joined by others. But before that, listen in to what Nusrat Mirza, this self-professed spy, has just said.
2010 में फिर हमें बुलाया गया जब हामिद अंसारी साहब नायब सदर थे, तो एक सेमिनार था बहुत बड़ा जिसमें टेररिज्म पे था, तो उन्होंने उस पर भी हमने इन्हें 2011 में मैं लास्ट गया था जब वो एक दिल्ली में एक जफरुल इस्लाम साहब हैं जो मिल्ली गजट निकालते हैं वहाँ का अखबार अंग्रेजी में, उन्होंने हमें बुलाया था, तो फिर हम यहाँ से हम ले गए थे। तो अब मतलब ये है कि रीजनेबली हम समझते हैं। तो अब बात ये है कि आपको जो काम करना है तो उसका जो आपके यहाँ पाकिस्तान में क्या होता है कि एक चीफ गया तो उसने जो सारा का सारा जो पुराने वाला चीफ काम करके गया था उसको सबसे तौबा की और अपना नया प्रोग्राम शुरू कर दिया। इस तरह से एक DGI चला गया, खुर्शीद कुसरी ने मुझसे कहा कि भाई ये जो तुम इंफॉर्मेशन लाए हो ये तुम इसको दे दो क्यानी को। उस जमाने में क्यानी DGI था। मैंने भाई मैं तो नहीं दूंगा, लेकिन आप देना चाहते हैं दे दें, मैं आपको ये दे के जा रहा हूँ। तो खैर वो उन्होंने दे दी थी। फिर बाद में किसी आदमी ने, एक ब्रिगेडियर ने मुझे फ़ोन किया, कहा कि साहब ऐसी इन्फॉर्मेशन हमें और मिल जाए तो अच्छा। तो मैंने कहा भाई ये इन्फॉर्मेशन काफ़ी नहीं है, इस पर ही काम करो। तो इनका एक रिसर्च विंग ज़रूर है, ये नहीं कह सकते कि आप ये लोग वहाँ के हालात को नहीं जानते हैं। हमारे जो ISI जो है वहाँ के सारे शहरों के बारे में इनके पास इंफॉर्मेशन है, उनकी जो लिविंग है, उनके यहाँ जो कमजोरियां हैं, जहाँ पर वो सब जानते हैं, ये लोग जानते हैं।
Okay, joining us also is Ankit Kumar, who's been looking at all the facts and figures surrounding this. But before that, I want to go across to Gaurav Sawant, our managing editor, in on this. Gaurav, what are you making of this? I mean, this is a huge claim to make. Of his last visit that was in 2011, he's very openly saying, I used to pass on information to the ISI, which basically makes him a spy. And he says, I was then Vice President Hamid Ansari's mehman. Is there more than meets the eye here? What do you think?
So, the fact that he's coming to India post 26/11, the worst terror attacks that took place on our country, on our people in 2008, and yet is a guest of the then Vice President, and Hamid Ansari was Vice President of India from 2007 to 17, and then going back and passing on this information, as he confesses on a Pakistani YouTube channel to Pakistan's ISI, yes, is a cause for concern, should be known to Indians, and that is why the fact remains, what kind of people do we invite to our country? And this may just be the tip of the iceberg. There are many others considered extremely respectable journalists, intellectuals, civil society members who dutifully go back and report to Pakistan's ISI, such is the nature of the beast. Are we more careful? Have we learnt our lessons? India is a country that virtually extended the red carpet to David Coleman Headley, a Pakistan-born American passport holder who was wrecking not just these vital assets and points in Mumbai, but also the National Defence College in the national capital and several other VAVPs in our country. So there are lessons to be learnt. Major lessons to be learned, especially if these people then boast that they were guests of Hamid Ansari, the then Vice President of India.
Abhishek, how are you seeing this, the claim made by this particular individual? How would you interpret what he's saying?
Well, Shiv, first of all, we need to look at the bigger question. There are probably many more like him that the ISI uses, who cross over, who come on a legal, valid visa. But as he mentioned himself, that, there were favors extended to him. He was given visas for 6 cities as opposed to just 2 cities, which is the norm. And not just once, but on several occasions, he visited India, visited various cities, went back and gave information to ISI. And now the bigger question is, what is the nature of information that he had? What was the brief given to him when he came here? All these aspects Pakistan needs to come clear on. As far as India is concerned, this is a test case that there needs to be a review of Pakistanis coming to India, especially guests like him who are coming to India, to make sure that these don't turn out to be spies.
Ankit, does former Vice President Hamid Ansari, need to comment or clarify on this? Because this man claims to have been a guest at the Vice President's residence. In your view, with everything that you've seen, and you've detailed many of the, elements of that visit, especially in India, do you think that the Vice President now has the onus to come out and clarify about this, or he doesn't need to?
Well, Shiv, anybody can, come from Pakistan, go back and several years later make certain claims. But what these images conclusively show is that this person who is now making sensational claims, claims as in spying for ISI under the guise of being a columnist or journalist, attending seminars in Aligarh, in New Delhi, what these images show is that this person indeed had access to high-profile events that was attended by then Vice President Mr. Ansari and also then Cabinet Minister Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, including others. What we can show through these images, which have been taken, released by the foundation that belongs to Mr. Ansari himself, that this person who is now incriminating himself that he spied for the ISI visited at least 2 times to New Delhi at 2 different events. One was the irony you can notice is that one was in the aftermath of the 26/11 terrorist attacks. One was based on terrorism. Second was only 4 months later was the topic was an interfaith religious conference. And the other one, at least 2 conferences that we have documented through these publicly available images is in 2007 at the Aligarh Muslim University, and then again in the aftermath of 2008 Mumbai terrorist attack. You remember that during that part of time, it was very difficult for any Pakistani visiting, whether it's journalists, civil society members, forget any agents, to get an Indian visa. So we can conclusively say that the claims that he's making are not empty claims, because he can be seen attending these high-profile events with cabinet ministers, with former vice presidents. Clearly, somebody has to come up and make some kind of clarification.
Gaurav, you wanted to add to that? Gaurav, go ahead.
Shiv, there is another aspect, that has been talked about. When somebody occupies such a high constitutional authority in our country, you've been the vice president of our country for 10 years, 2007 to 2017. You know the country in and out. You've been our ambassador to very critical countries and crucial countries like Iran. Who is the people who's getting an invitation and then using your name is something that that constitutional authorities have to beware. They, their team, their staff, and then also the people they are seen with. For example, the Popular Front of India, that's an organization that's under investigation. But when a former Vice President of India attends a function which is associated with an affiliate of the Popular Front of India, it raises many issues. And on a certain Republic Day, when a former Vice President of India, who's been one of the top officials also of our country, has had the best of our country that India can offer to anyone, and then, expresses their apprehension when no longer the Vice President that intolerance is rising in India on an international forum, that the law minister of the country or the external affairs ministry of the country has to counter him. There are many, many questions, that rise out of all these situations in such a scenario, Shiv, that need to be looked into.
We've got some breaking news coming in on this story. Abhishek Manu Singh, the Congress party, has just tweeted questioning India's former Vice President Hamid Ansari on the basis of hearsay of a Pakistani journalist is the most Bhajapa thing, says Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. He says these are the same people who do proper emotional drama when the BJP's version is questioned by any foreign commentator. So the Congress party, well, not the party, but Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who is a person who represents the party, has said that this is hypocrisy and that questioning Vice President Ansari based on the claims, and remember on India Today, we still say these are just claims by a Pakistani individual, is not appropriate, and it would not happen if the BJP was involved. Now remember, Hamid Ansari, who was India's former Vice President, is a politician, is an individual who's had many controversies in the past as well. Let's just, recount some of them, because this is only the latest to add to that list, even though let's make it very clear that these are only claims being made. There is no way we can corroborate at this point of time, and we don't know if Mr. Ansari will be coming out and clarifying. In January 2022, this year in fact, Hamid Ansari faced flack over remarks on Hindu nationalism. He said that the government had distinguished citizens on the basis of faith and promoted disquiet and insecurity. He came under huge attack for that. In October 2018, he said India is just as responsible for partition as Pakistan, claimed it was easier to blame Muslims. In January 2015, he didn't salute the national flag on Republic Day when he was on the dais. In December 2011, he abruptly adjourned the Rajya Sabha and came to the government's rescue on the Lokpal voting issue. More than a decade ago, but these are just some of the many different controversies that have been at Vice President Hamid Ansari's door. Let's move on now. Meanwhile, RSS leader Indresh Kumar has stoked a fresh controversy, alleging that some people were trying to weaken the country's social fabric. The RSS Neta claimed that a conspiracy was underway to pit people against each other in the name of religion and community and weaken the country's unity. He said that Friday is the day for prayers for Muslims, but some people have converted it into a day for stone pelting. The RSS Neta further said that some people were working towards weakening the country's social fabric and vitiating its atmosphere, adding that in a situation like this, Muslim outfits don't just need to come forward and condemn them, but identify and deal toughly with them. He said it's no longer Friday, it's Patharwar is the word he used.
शुक्रवार आया, मुसलमानों की इबादत का दिन है, पर कुछ षड्यंत्रकारियों ने जिनके और संकेत जानकारियों से पाकिस्तान, तालिबान और ऐसे कुछ अंदरूनी और बाह्य ताकतों की तरफ जा रहे हैं, उन्होंने नौजवानों को उकसाकर पहले से तैयार करवाकर अकस्मात हिंसा नहीं भड़की और उस शुक्रवार को पत्थरवार में बदल दिया है। और हमने मुसलमानों को अपील की है कि अब आपके सामने एक चुनौती है कि आप अपने शुक्रवार को पत्थरवार की बजाय और मोहब्बतवार में बदलने का काम करिए, ताकि यह जो दाग लगा है ये हट जाए। और इस प्रकार से जिन्होंने पत्थरवार बनाने का काम किया, उनकी भी पहचान करके उनके खिलाफ भी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
तो इंद्रेश जी बहुत वरिष्ठ नेता हैं, आरएसएस के जो है, और बड़े प्रभावकारी नेता हैं।
और वो अल्पसंख्यकों के बीच में भी काम करते रहते हैं, उनको भरोसा दिलाते रहते हैं। वो अपनी पार्टी से भी कहें कि ये भरोसा क्यों डगमगा रहा है। यदि बड़े भाई के तौर पर हम लोग पहल कर सकें तो मुझे पक्का विश्वास है कि जो कट्टरता अल्पसंख्यकों में पैदा हो रही है वो कट्टरता धीरे धीरे उदारता में बदलेगी।
पहली बात, इंद्रेश कुमार जी अगरचे फ्राइडे का दिन स्टोन पेंटिंग ना हो इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं तो उसका स्वागत करते हैं, बट इंद्रेश कुमार जी की नीयत वो नहीं है। ही वांट्स टू रियली क्रिएट अ फियर साइकोसिस in people's mind on Friday. That is, and Friday being an important day for Muslims across the globe, and he is trying to play a psychological game and political game. It has nothing to do with asking the community or the community leaders to come forward to make the India forward. No, absolutely nothing. His intentions are absolutely. The writing on the wall is very clear. He wants to paint the community with a brush of his choice.
Well, thanks for watching today's 5 Live. I'll see you at the same time tomorrow, but I did want to leave you with this image, one of my favorites today. 94-year-old Bhagwani Devi Dagar, showing that age is really no bar at all after winning the gold medal in the 100-meter sprint at the World Masters Athletics Championships. Bhagwani Devi returned to India to a hero's welcome. Celebrations began upon her arrival at the airport. Her family and fans gathered there to celebrate her amazing victory. Here's saluting Bhagwani Devi Dagar.
Why it is incredibly complicated to design an analogous scheme to the one that we have for employed workers.
Big citizen stories on 6 p.m. today. 1. State after state is submerged with waterlogging and flooding. This is our urban reality, but why? Who is accountable, and why should we have our developed cities literally getting waterlogged, causing inconvenience just after the first rainfall? There are red, orange, yellow alerts that have been sounded. I'll be taking you through all of these states from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Assam, down south in Telangana, Karnataka and Kerala as well. We get you the citizen voices and our reporters are on ground. And then we cross over to the border to the state of Sri Lanka. The economic crisis has worsened. People are still out on the streets. Our team of reporters in Colombo will get you citizen voices to help you understand what India's neighboring nation and island country is facing through right now, what led to this crisis, and what next for Sri Lanka. That and more at 6 p.m. Prime. Stay tuned. Digi Yatra is going to be implemented in India from 31st August. It will allow passengers to catch their flight quickly if they are in a hurry. So basically, the Digi Yatra allows facial recognition technology or biometric-based digital processing of passengers done at the airport. It will be functional at the airports of 7 states: Delhi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Varanasi, Vijayawada, Kolkata and Pune. They would not have to provide their identity cards or boarding pass at different checkpoints, including the entry, security checks, and the aircraft boarding. It will also facilitate a self-bag drop. The initiative is expected to be a paperless, centralized registration system. The government ID repositories, airport security systems, and airline back-end network would be integrated together. A mobile application will also be launched by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Digi Yatra application will share the ticket details and the facial data. The airport will be equipped with the biometric camera-based e-gates. Although the scheme is going to make traveling very easy, there are certain loopholes that passengers may not like. According to the Internet Freedom Foundation, there would be privacy risks with features like facial recognition for check-ins and data recall.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Two big citizen stories on 6 p.m. today. 1. State after state is submerged with waterlogging and flooding. This is our urban reality, but why? Who is accountable, and why should we have our developed cities literally getting waterlogged, causing inconvenience just after the first rainfall? There are red, orange, yellow alerts that have been sounded. I'll be taking you through all of these states from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Assam, down south in Telangana, Karnataka and Kerala as well. We get you the citizen voices and our reporters are on ground. And then we cross over to the border to the state of Sri Lanka. The economic crisis has worsened. People are still out on the streets. Our team of reporters in Colombo will get you citizen voices to help you understand what India's neighboring nation and island country is facing through right now, what led to this crisis, and what next for Sri Lanka. That and more at 6 p.m. Prime. Stay tuned.
Presented by Berger Easy Clean. No dog, no dhabba, only beautiful walls. Co-presented by PolicyBazaar.com.